Hello, God bless. Lee Rice here, sitting at the gateway to reality. Luckily, the nature hike Monga 2 survived the brutal storm, which I was in last night. I was considering taking shelter in a different position, but I was trusting that the nature hike would do well, and it did. It wasn't as much rain as they said there was going to be. They said there was going to be 50 millimetre. So in the bottom of the forest position, I was a little bit concerned. It was really brutal, but luckily I did feel some spray touching my hands. Child of reality! But from just a spray, like a light spray, but the rain was ultimately not getting in. It was crazy heavy. So I'm super happy with the nature hike Monga 2. And thanks for those that helped me to recover the tent situation during the crazy conditions of the Agrigento zombie apocalypse survival game. So I'm here now, and yesterday I completed song number 105, which matches the Portal of Prayer numerical sequence of exactly where I've written the most number of songs, the Portal of Prayer, which is that way. And after the brutal storm, where nobody invited any assistance, offered any assistance, don't want to sound negative, but that's the truth of it, same as all the other storms, I sit here at the gateway to reality now, and the scenario has been really interesting. As a writer of 105 songs on this street, and in the last 2 hours, this is the scenario, which is good news and bad news. As I sit here as a writer, artist, poet, musician, of 105 songs on this street, and hundreds of adults have walked through, the good news is there's been some compassion for the man sitting there. I'm going to go to Mensa and collect the free food. I know that he doesn't. That's his choice. Out of every single adult walking through the city, including quite a few tourists, groups of tourists, the adult society haven't recognised a living, talking, speaking, singing, moving writer sitting at the entrance to a city tributed to two writers. But the plus side is at least some have stopped with some compassion for the man begging right next to my position. And in that time, now it's 2 hours media since I sat here, not one single adult has offered even 5 cents for a writer with my details and my musical partners clearly displayed. And quite a few did offer the scenario just a few meters away. So this is the madness that's going on, which I say for the sake of all of the writers, artists, poets, musicians of the world, street artists, writers, artists, poets, musicians, who've had to suffer a selfish zombie apocalypse, where somehow the vast majority, 99%, and I'm not exaggerating the percentage in the calmest possible way, 99% of the moving adult society, regardless of what I say, regardless of what Tony the Maestro says, Alex from Ukraine, or any musician, poet, artist, writer I've sat with in the city, the vast majority of the moving adult society don't just reject music and art, they don't even notice it. From a distance that is no more than this away. This is what's going on in reality. The total decay of compassion, seeing some compassion today for this scenario, the total unawareness or appreciation for music or art from a maximum of this distance away. The vast majority fail to even recognize it's taking place. And still it continues. And this is how I feel in Agrigento, and I have for a long time. It's like being in Groundhog Day, Marmotta experience, Marmotta in Italiano. I'm stuck in the Marmotta experience too, but my Marmotta experience, Groundhog Day experience, is ultimately different to theirs. And this is where mine is ultimately different. I'm watching them still in their loop of complete and total insanity. And I'm a witness testimony, as are the people I know, the ones sitting around, and the children and the teenagers of Agrigento, to a continuation of an adult society whose preference is the ground. Like I've shared on multiple videos, they get close to the writer, artist, poet, musician, and choose to look that way instead. I've witnessed it with friends, homeless brothers and sisters, begging brothers and sisters, and I'm ultimately not judging the man next to me. Although I will say, in this exact scenario, one of us, the writer, artist, poet, musician, is going to walk 6 minutes that way. Okay, he's got one leg, But there's other people here too. He could ask me or someone else to collect the food for him. And one friend I've got here who had his leg amputated, he uses a wheelchair and he still goes to collect the food. So in this exact scenario right now, they'll miss free artists. I'm sitting here with my musical partners too, of course. Support someone who's begging, which fair enough, that's good to see some compassion. But fail to recognise the musician, poet, artist or writer sitting right next to the entrance to the city, tributed to two writers, even with the details displayed, with a grand total of compassion for music and art of 0. This is what's going on in reality in a remarkably selfish adult society who maybe there's 1 in 100, just the truth, Lavarita Pericolo, maybe, just maybe, there's one of them in the adult society, specifically moving adult society, 1 in 100, sometimes 1 in 1,000, with any compassion, any care for music or art whatsoever, even any awareness is taking place. Like in Cefalù, they'll stand this close, reading the words on the church behind, walk across the church, doing the symbol of the cross, walk past the statues, doing the symbol of the cross, and fail to recognise from this distance away any type of music or art whatsoever, and also a homeless pregnant lady sitting right next to the same position. This is the craziness of what's going on in a very, 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 very sad, selfish adult society. God bless.